everybody, welcome to Robert's Train Set. I've got the dodge with one of my videos on the TV behind me. This was the BR Black Steam running session I did about 7 months ago, so I thought I'd have that in the background. Having seen my last upload, you might be wondering what was going on. And putting it very simply, I just completely lost it with YouTube. I've worked really hard with my videos. I spend a lot of time editing and getting what I like to see, which is a lot of different shots to try and make it more interesting on running session. Just not getting the views. I'm just struggling up to 200 or just over. So I was thinking, I'm spending all my time, and I do spend an awful lot of time making them, to the exclusion sometimes of things that I should be doing, and I just can't go on that. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to shut the channel down or anything, because I want the channel there. I quite enjoy it, but I suppose the simplest way to say what I'm going to do is I'm going to be part-time. I am retired. And I'm going to go part-time, so I'm certainly not going to do a video every week, as you saw from the last one that was very, very short, and that's what you might get sometime. And the reason it was so short is I don't want to spend loads of time making a video, to be honest, and then getting very minimal views. Well, for me, for my channel. So that was basically shot straight, no editing, straight up onto YouTube, and took about an hour to do, including getting the rolling stock going and sorting it all out. So that's what I might be doing. But this one's going to be different, because I am going to edit this one, as you can see, have you seen, and what it's about. So I think the first thing to say is I've had a few issues recently. The first one was I got an abscess under one of my teeth here, which luckily wasn't painful. But very worryingly, I went to the dentist twice and had 2 different types of antibiotic, and neither of them actually cured it. So I've now had to have the tooth out just before Easter. So that was quite worrying for me. I've never had antibiotics not work in all my 70 years. So getting older, I don't know. I haven't got an idea. Anyway, sorted now. The only thing, it's funny, without my teeth in, my top teeth, none of my other teeth connect to each other, so I sort of shut down onto my gums, which isn't a good idea, but I'll get used to that. It's not. So I think the second thing to say, and I will show you a little bit of film that I film out in the garden. I've got a shed at the end of the garden where it's got the bike, if you remember my electric bike. My bike's in there. Went out the other day to start to mow the lawn, which I still did do, well, grass really. But I went out there and it had started collapsing. It's made with tongue and groove boards like that, and then interlocked at the corners, you know, like so. I thought you've seen them. And obviously with all the swelling and shrinking with the weather, you get gaps and whatever. And what's actually happened is that 2 of them have actually done that on one long side and one short side. Luckily it's not actually fallen down, so I want to fix it. So I've been able to sort that out, and I'm going to have to buy some timber. So I will do a little video on what I do to fix it the easiest way. I think it's going to cost me about 100 quid to fix it, which is a lot cheaper than buying a new one. And then if you get a new one, you've either got to pay somebody to put it up and take the old one down, because I don't think I'm up to doing it now. I really don't. Certainly not getting up on the roof and stripping everything off and then redoing a roof. So I don't want to do that. So look forward. I hope you'll look forward to that. I know it's nothing to do with trains, but you know, it's all interest, I hope. So what I'm going to show you more in this video is, as you know, I did a big fiddle yard, did I not? And I put a mirror at the end to be able to see when the trains came to the end of the buffers. but I'm finding it's not really working. I need to stand up all the time to see, and then I don't really know where the points are and what train is on which track. So I watched a video from Julian from Station Road Model Railway. Now he's in New Zealand. I believe he's in Christchurch, which I have been to. And he came up with a good idea because he's got a fiddle yard that is actually completely hidden. You can't see it at all. And tried the normal things like a cube camera. He didn't mention that he'd tried sort of had a look at security systems, which is another way of doing it. But security systems seem to be fairly expensive. But he came up with a good idea of buying a rear view camera system. Now he bought one for trucks, I think, and I saw this and I thought, that's not a bad idea. So I've been online and I'll just show you something. I've got a box here. It's a box. And this box is the first thing I've ever bought on eBay. Now I must admit I'm quite impressed. I ordered it and it said to be delivered by the 9th of April. And believe it or not, it arrived on Easter Saturday, so the 3rd. So I'm quite impressed with that. So I'll show you the front of it. And yes, I know you can't see the trains behind, but never mind. So it's a very similar system, I think, to what Julian had. With the exception that I've got a remote control, and I don't think he mentioned he had a remote control, although he may have done. So I will at some stage, after I just do my last bit to camera, we'll go up in the loft and I'll show you where I am with it. I have unpacked it and tested it and sorted, and I'll explain what I found about it and what I think of it, to be honest. And I'll show you a bit of the installation, you know, what you have to do to sort of try and sort out what you want to do. And then I think finally to finish, well, we know we've got to do the mug, haven't we? Everybody's doing a mug, so this is a different mug to what I usually get. And I haven't got any train mugs. I'm very sorry, peoples. It's not something I go into. But what I have got, and I don't know, I will put it closer to the camera, I've got a Norfolk Broads mug. And I really like going to Norfolk Broads. I like going on the boats, and we've, you know, I've had hire boats out on the Norfolk Broad. But what I thought about this one is I've got the swans, haven't I? And I've got the swans on the layout. So there we are, that's my layout mug. Thank you everybody for getting in the spirit of mugs, and we'll see if anybody else does it. I mean, they've got quite a few in America. I noticed that they have mugs, don't they, with their channel name on. That's quite good. So I'm going to leave it here. I think we'll go and have a look at the shed first before we go up in the loft, and then I'll go up in the loft and I'll explain some of that. So I hope you're going to enjoy. I hope you'll stay watching. And as I said, I really do thank Julian from Station Road Model Railway down there in New Zealand for pushing me in the right way, because I had looked at other ways of doing it because I was finding it difficult. I don't like having to walk across the opening to the loft to see where the points are and whatever. So it's really going to work well, I think. Cheers everybody, cheers, see you later in a minute. Well, here we are out in my back garden with a nice view of the water butt, and this is the shed in question, and as you can see it's that type of construction, so grooved timber and then interlocked at the corners, and it, you know, it was I think it was about £500 when we bought it quite a few years ago now, quite a few years ago. So if I pan down a bit, you can see, I hope, that this has all collapsed down here, and these have all been broken apart, and if I go around the end where the ladder is, you can see, I hope, it's actually come apart completely, and also part of the capping up there is gone, which I find a bit strange. So inside, here's my bike. I've had to bring it forward because the shelf that's over the top would actually come down on top of the bike, which isn't ideal. And if you notice, there's a fridge there under that worktop. Used to go under and you know, slide under and come out, and now it's rock solid with the worktop on it, so it proves that things have certainly moved. Now luckily I don't think much weather comes in here because I've got the fence in the way at the back, but yeah, not great. And what I thought I'd better do is I better just try and hold it up. So I had this piece of top and I've just wedged that down there for the time being and taken a lot of the stuff off the shelves. So what I'm planning on doing, and you won't probably see the inside at the end there because everything's in the way, but I'm going to take all the shelves out here and probably take the worktop and strip it all off, take all my boards off, and then I'm hoping to get some timber just to jack this up a bit and force it up, and then I'm just going to use some ply, and I will explain my thinking about that when I actually do the video on trying to repair this. And there's my garden. So I did mow it a bit and it looks a bit better, and it's quite nice and it's not a bad day. So cheers everybody. And I've got some flowers down there, if you can pan in a bit. I bought some daffs at the Asda's. And they are from my little wife who unfortunately passed away 6 years ago on the 2nd of April. So I always try and put some flowers out for her. And obviously I've got the plaque on the arch there for a poor little girl. But she was well out of it. Cancer's a nasty disease, isn't it? Not nice at all. Cheers everybody. Cheers. So we're now going to go up into the loft with the trains. I probably won't have any trains running, and we'll have a look at this camera system. Right everybody, cheers. So here we are up in the loft, ready to have a look at this camera system. So saw this briefly in the introduction, and as you can see, you get a monitor, you get 2 cameras, and you get these coils of lead to connect the cameras to the main unit. This is one of them, and believe it or not, there's 10 meters in there, so over 30 feet of cable, and you get 2 of these, so pretty good. Now these are the instructions you get with it. So you get this little chart here, which sort of gives you a basic look at it. And this I think is more if you put it into a vehicle, so obviously we don't really need that, do we? And then the only other bit you get is you get this piece here, which is warranty, and it's thanking you for buying it, and it's called Face Moon. I think other manufacturers probably in China. And then you get a slight pictorial, nothing on the back, blank on the back. As you can see, you get a picture of the power cable connect, which I will show you in a minute. 4-pin cable, which is the big roll I just showed you, and some other bits and pieces. So basically 4 pictures you get. And at the top here there's a little bit of text, and it basically says the blue wire can be ignored and the red wire is positive power, the black wire is negative power, the yellow connector only can be connected to the AV camera. So here's the monitor, and as you can see I've been dabbling on where to position it and so forth. It's fairly straightforward, and I will show you this on a little later. So you do have to provide your own power transformer, and this I found in my kit. I've got no idea what it used to be, but it's 240 in and 12 volts out, and I did check it with my voltmeter to check that that was actually happening, which it was. So I've taken the leads from that transformer and led them down to the gubbins of the stuff. Used a 3-position connector so that I can screw it up, and you get the 3 wires. You get a black and a red, which is the positive and negative, and this blue wire. This is the fuse holder, and then it comes down to this some sort of a connector, I suppose. I have connected the blue wire in with the live because I think it does feed something else in the cameras, which I will explain later on. And these 2 connections here are for the cameras. So I've got one plugged in already, the black to the black. Funnily enough, they're not colour coded, so you know, you haven't got a yellow and a whatever. So this piece is where you connect the monitor to basically the cameras and the where you connect in the power. And I tried all this downstairs on the table to make sure it worked, and it wasn't working. I was plugging it in, nothing was happening. Once I put this in and twiddled it a bit, it worked. So might be a bit of a little dodgy connection, but since I've fiddled with it and not taken it apart, it's been fine. So that was the only bugbear, but obviously when the thing doesn't work, you are really quite worried, aren't you? But it did work in the end. And the other bit of kit you get is this little remote, which does work. You do, however, have to put your own battery in, which is one of the watch type, 3 volt, which I did luckily have one, but they don't supply it with a kit. So here's one of the cameras, and we're able to get 2 of these. And the little spots you can see are infrared sensors, and they do work. I'm quite impressed with this. As you can see, I go around the other side, and I thought I'd show you how I'm trying to mount these. So as you'll see in a minute when I show you the monitor, I wanted to get as good a view of what's going on as I could, because that's the whole idea of the camera system. So trying to locate it on surfaces that are already there, I found wasn't working very well, at this end at least. So as you can see, I'm going to put an extension bit of timber down and fix the camera to that at this particular position. And at the moment you can see obviously with the cramps all holding it. And if I go to the other end, and this is the back of the other one. So it's obviously a bit dark this end. But here you can see that I've mounted the camera pointing to the wall, and the other camera, if you notice, is up there. So why have I located this camera here? Where I have. So again, if we go now to the monitor and we'll have a look, I'll show you. So here we show the monitor on. And as you can see, I've got a nice view here, and this is where the hatch is up from the down below, showing all the points fairly clearly. You can see what orientation they are, although it does go on my computer and shows. It's nice to have a visual look at it, and I used to go and check that they were right. So that's this end, and I have actually fitted a light here, a little fluorescent, to give me a little bit more light if I wanted. So if I turn that on now, as you can see, that makes it quite a bit clearer. So I'm quite happy with that. That's the position I'm probably going to do. And as you can see, I'm going to turn it off. Now there is a little bit of interference on this, and I think it may be from the LED lights, but I'm not too worried about that. It's just so I can see what I can do. Now you should be able to change the camera from one to the other with that button. And it did work when I first bought it for some reason, but at the moment it doesn't seem to want to do it. But luckily with the remote I can. So this is this camera pointing towards a wall, and I don't know whether you can see, but basically it's trains. And there's my foam that I got stuck to the wall, if you remember. I've left the mirror in, and that allows me to see when the train is coming up to it. So that's why I positioned it like that. If I'd have tried to do it looking away from the wall, I wouldn't have been able to see when it got near to the wall. And what I was finding was I was having to get up and down to be able to see that mirror. So that's why I've located it like that. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with this. Now I don't know why that button isn't working, and there is a menu. You can change the brightness, the contrast. You can even tip it upside down if you want. I don't know why you'd want that, but it may be if you revert the camera. But that also reverts all the writing, which isn't great. But as a package of 62.50 plus the postage to make about £65, I think it's not a bad little system, is it? We'll have to see how long it lasts, and obviously I have to wire it all in, and I've got loads and loads of wire that I don't want, but you obviously can't trim it down because it's got the very good connections at each end of the extension cable. But I think it's you know, it's a nice package, so I will show you when I've got it installed with it all neat and tidy, hopefully, because at the moment, as I say, got wires absolutely everywhere. So everybody, here we are back up in the loft, and this is quite a few days later, and we have a up and running TV system for the fiddleyard. So I've just got the Fowler P2 pulling around the West Country carriages from the last video, because basically I'm too lazy to take them all off and change them. So we'll now go and have a look at the system and see how it's working. So I've now turned the sound off to the Fowler, a bit quieter, and if I just follow it along, we end up with our monitor here. And as you can see, we've got quite a nice picture on it, and I'm just going to relocate the camera and just show you the fixing to this. So when you last saw it, it had this fixed to the back, and it's basically a base. You can sit it on a base like that, but that would get in the way, and it was very flexible. So I've done away with that, taken that off the back, and as you can see, I've managed to screw that piece into my post, and it works really well. Now I must admit that the monitor is still a bit wobbly, which I think if you were using the buttons a lot on it would, you know, in the end sort of not do it much good, but we have a solution for that, and I'll turn off and relocate and I'll show you what it is. So as the Fowler makes its steady but quiet progress around the layout, as you can see, I've got the monitor there, and if you remember, if I pushed change the camera on the monitor, it didn't work, and unfortunately it still doesn't. But this is what I was saying about using these controls. You know, this is quite flexible, so not ideal, but I've now set up the remote down here, and by just pushing that, hey presto, we have it. And this stops you having to do anything on the monitor if you don't want to. Now what I found was that if I just had it flat against here, it wouldn't work. It needs to be angled up slightly to the monitor, and obviously if I move the monitor backwards and forwards or sideways, then at some stage it will lose. But I'm quite happy with this setup, so yeah, really great. And I to fit the remote, so I went down my local pound shop. It's now open, thankfully, and I bought this flexible tripod for £1, believe it or not. And as you can see, it's designed for a little camera. Now, you know, it's not hugely strong, and I'll just show you it with my little GoPro camera on, as you can see. But on the top of this, if you look at the box, you can see that it will take a mobile phone. And the bit at the top that was hold the mobile phone was spring loaded so that it would hold it. Well, I don't use my mobile phone for any of that. I just use it for phone calls. So I've actually adapted, and when the camera's so the bit you can see here is the top of that tripod, and I've just screwed it into my upstand there into the actual edge of the board and adapted it to take this remote at an angle. So this is the bit that used to spring, took the springs out, just pushed it down, and the elastic bands hold it in against a couple of screws at the back to give it that tip. So it's worked quite well. I'm quite pleased with that. As for this button not working on the monitor, the only thing I can think the reason it packed up from when it was working when I first got it is, if I show you, come back a bit, I'll show you what I took off. So having looked at the pictures in the on the website, it showed this film being peeled off the screen. So I thought I'd come and do that. And originally in this corner where my little finger is, there was like you get a pull cord, you know, to be able to pull it off. But in this particular case, I couldn't get hold of it. I think it was actually within the unit and not loose. So I had to dig out this to get it going. I tried my cocktail sticks, which didn't touch it. And in the end, I had to use something a bit metal to get under there, as gently as I could. And it really was hard to pull off, really was. And I just think maybe that was trapped around some of the stuff for that switch, and it's just stopped it working. So that's maybe why. If you think, why don't I just complain and get a new one? I'm not too bothered about it, to be honest, and it's a lot of hoo-ha, isn't it, to sort of send it back and get a new one and whatever. So I'm going to leave it. As long as it keeps going, I don't mind. And while we're in this area, well, I was trying to start testing it, so I wanted the loco to work. I did my usual thing, loading my loco up on this track which goes into this fiddleyard, you know, with the hard standing. And it wouldn't work. Tried to turn the lights on, nothing happened. And when I slid it over this joint, it would start on sort of about here. So I assumed that there was something not getting a good connection on these fish plates. So I tried tightening them up as you do, and it still didn't work. And I didn't really want to start taking all this out, because obviously this is my only bit of ballasted track, really, isn't it? So what have I done? If I go in, and I don't know whether it will focus or not, so it wouldn't focus from the tripod, so I've taken it off and I'm as close to it as it looks like it, and I've actually just put some solder down here, because I don't think it hurts. I've got quite a big gap at the other end of this bit of rail for expansion, hopefully, and I don't think it will cause a problem. And it worked, so great. Sometimes the easiest way, or sometimes the simplest way is the easiest way, I would say. As for the wiring to this, as you can see, I've looped it over and taken it down my thing, and if I move that little hut away, I had to drill quite a big hole to obviously get the plug through, but that's well hidden by this little bit of hut, which I'm not going to use on the layout except for here. So I'll show you the wiring underneath later, but we'll first go and have a look at the camera installations, which you sort of basically saw last time. So if you remember, I had this just clamped with a cramp against this bit of wood, but I've now put a bit of wood underneath it and screwed it with some little screws sort of there and there, and you can move them about if you want, although I don't really want to. And you can see that the cable now goes up as far as you can, and I'm going to take it off the tripod in a minute and just show you a bit more. So this is the front of the camera, and as you can see, it's got like a little shade at the top, which on this one I've not really used. I've left it on, but it's not really doing anything. But we're going to have a look at the other one and I'll explain. So here's the other camera at the loft entrance end, and as you can see, I did show you this little bit of wood, and as you see, I've painted them in to sort of make them a little bit less obvious. And there's the cable going up, and it runs along there. You can see the good connector onto the extension lead, and it runs all the way down there, goes under here, and literally they all meet up here and run along towards the computer. So I did say when I was at the other end that I'd say about this hood. So what I found with this camera is that the light that I've installed, you know, the new fluorescent light, you could sort of see it in the picture. So I've actually pushed this screen down, this removable thing you can see on the top. That's why you get not quite the full height picture, because this is a blank in that light. So I just thought I'd show you that. So the other far end camera, the one near to the mirror, again that comes up out of here and runs along the top of the beam here. I painted that little bit out there. And if you notice, I've actually painted this bit of beam all the way along because I found the paint and I thought I had enough. So it then comes down under here, look, and runs underneath this down piece support, runs all along there and gets to that end there where they all seem to meet. So I've fixed this light here, a couple of fluorescent tubes in it. It's a really old unit, and I've not really used it much, so I thought it might be worth putting it here. So I got it on a couple of screws, you know, slotted screws, and as you see I've run the cable. Now it works both on batteries and 240, but not rechargeable batteries, so I'm just going to use it on the 240. So I've run the cable there, I've run it down here like so. It goes into this box, junction box, and then I've got 1.5 cable, which is a proper cable for electrics, running all the way along here, so forth, hidden almost. I painted it in, and then it ends up here, and then I've run it along here, as you can see, through that hole there, and it comes out here and just goes to a loop of cable, just a normal plug. And obviously by doing this I can save wasting a extension lead, because that can just stay there ready to be used. And while I had the paint out, I painted up my protection, my head protection, because it looks a bit better when it's all same colour, doesn't it? So I showed you this earlier, and I've obviously run the lead down, and I'll show you where all these leads get to. So as the train goes above us, you might hear it, this is where all the cables come and meet. So the cable running along there is from the transformer, and you can recognise the big cable connectors there, which is what the cameras are plugged into. There's one there, and there's one up the other end, as we saw. And running back down the inside of this member here are the leads from the cameras. So I said when I was doing the intro before, I had a lot of cable, didn't I? I was surrounded by cable, and there is quite a bit of this 30-foot cable left. As you can see, there's one piece there, and if I pan back and ease down, there's another one there. So I've coiled them up, used some ties to hold them together, and then I bought an eye, and I've just fixed that up into the top and done them with a tie again, and the same there. I hope you can see that, and that seems to be quite a satisfactory way of getting them out of the way. So as the Paolo, who's been going round and round all the time I've been filming this, comes into shot, we just need to do a little demo, don't we, of how useful it is. So I'm going to run this Paolo into the fiddle yard, and as the carriages run away, I'll go back to the screen, so you won't see some of it obviously. So there's our screen, and I've set up all the points ready to go, with the exception of one, which is to get it off of the inside lane, which I've just done, and we'll wait for it to appear in the fiddle yard. So I've slowed it down and it's negotiated all the points, and it's just coming down to the bend into the bigger fiddle yard. And I will show you a bit of film that I'm taking on the little GoPro on the stand. If you notice on this screen, it's got a big black band across. That's using the screen to stop it being blinded by the light that's there. So as you can see, we're going down there. So if we now go to the end one, now I know I can't see the whole of the line, but that's all you actually need, isn't it? So at this speed I can probably just stop it. And there we are, and it's in, and you can see what's going on. So I'll now take out, while we're at this view, I'll now take out the 395 and give that a run. We can see that yes, we have the right amount of line and the points are set correctly. And at the moment the lights are on, but it's gone in reverse, so I'll go forwards and hopefully the headlights will come on. Oh, there we are. And we can come forward. So just click and we'll go very slowly out, hopefully. And here he comes, or she comes. So let's go to the other camera. So it might be a good idea to click to the other camera. Here she comes. Now you might see these lines, which are obviously the reversing lines for a parking camera, and you can't get rid of them. You can make them a bit fainter, I think, which I've done, but you can't lose them completely. But I think it's a small price to pay, I think, for the price of the system. So here we are now in, to be honest, pretty dark surroundings, and if I just move the camera away, you can see it's pretty dark here, isn't it? In fact, I'd say that's very dark. But as you can see the train's still sitting there, and if I turn my torch on so I can see what I'm doing and change the picture, again you do get not quite as good a view from this far camera, but that's not too much of a problem. But I think that's really great, you know, not bad at all. I've had to exclude the light down from down below, so it's not completely black up here, but I think that's dark enough to show that it does work quite well. And if I move back to the other camera, oh, that's really good. So here we are in the daylight again, and again you get a thing. I do believe that on the near camera to the hatch you do get obviously a lot more detail with the lights on, especially with the little light that I fitted in. But you know, I'm happy with this. So I think we'll just finish with a little bit of running of the 395. So we'll just speed up the camera a little bit. We'll just speed up. And run it at its speed that it should do. And as you can see, the camera does, or rather the monitor does sort of slightly get in the way on some camera shots, but I'm sure I should be able to overcome that. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I know it's a bit long, and if you have any pieces of your railway you find difficult to look at and watch, especially if you're sitting down, it might be an idea. So I will put where I got this from in the description. Okay, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'm signing off now. The last look at the 395 as it disappears out of shot. Goodbye and thank you for watching.